What is up, guys? Back for yet another episode. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is going to be the best one yet for a couple reasons. One, because I really do feel like once I get the axle replaced in here, it's going to be momentum to get this thing back together because it will enable me to get the brakes on so I can pull it out of the garage without things like this happening. And actually see the sunlight and maybe wash it and do some stuff with the paint. I do have to do a couple more things though. I gotta get the electrical going before I can get it inspected. I have to figure out how to get gas, not from the remote snowblower tank that's been sitting on the hood for a while. The second reason why I'm pretty excited about this is because I've never actually replaced an axle. So this is a first for me. I was able to hang out with a couple friends over the weekend. One, Lucas, who was in a previous episode helping me get machines in here. He's done this a ton on really cool stuff. He recommended changing the U-bolts out. Anytime you replace shackle springs, you replace the U-bolts, which I was not planning on doing. So that's why I'm here in the garage now. The axle hasn't even arrived yet, but I'm going to try and get one of those U-bolts out because I found a local place that can actually make one to the same size. So I have those ready to go once I get the axle actually out. The other thing Lucas said, which I hope is not foreshadowing here, he said the center pin, there's a center pin in all the shackles. Sometimes those are broken and you don't really know it until you take it apart. So fingers crossed that's not the case. I'm excited about this episode. So I'm going to dig right in and just see. I have been PB soaking those for a while. I haven't even tried it yet, but I'll soak them again. I'll get some heat on it and hopefully at least I can pull one of those out pretty easy so I can get a new one made. So stay tuned. All right, one shameless plug. I am very close to 100 subscribers. Not 100,000, not 100 million, 100 subscribers. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, and I know because YouTube analytics is pretty cool, I know most of you, the majority of you guys are not subscribers, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to make me anything, but at least I know that I have subscribers coming back. It's a little more motivation. So subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. That being said, let's get into it. I was actually pleasantly surprised. It wasn't that much to take this thing out of there. I don't want to jinx it because I still got a bunch more to do. Nothing too special, but I did learn a bunch of things just by doing some quick research online. I did find a place 2 towns over that does springs, and I told them roughly what I wanted, and they said, yeah, just bring it here. We're not going to make it over the phone, or over dimensions over the phone. Bring it here. We'll make them for you. It's not that expensive, and if you bring it, we might have it done in like a couple minutes. So I'm going to do that in the next couple days, which is one of the things that's just going to get me ready for the axle. So stay tuned. Next part, the axle should be here. I should be able to get it in there, and hopefully everything goes smoothly, and it's a pretty easy job. I did make it to the spring rebuild place down the street, or actually a couple towns over. I brought them the U-bolt that I took off the vehicle, and very quickly they made new ones. And I actually brought the camera there, and I was planning on filming, but he went back there with this one. I was assuming just to see if they had stock for it. He came back in less than 10 minutes with 4 of these. I have already put one on the truck, and I know that it works. So that's one item that I can check off the list. The other one here, I did get the axle, and it came from FedEx. Super easy pickup. Thanks to my buddy John for bringing his pickup truck to do that. It actually made me pretty psyched that soon I'm going to have a pickup truck that I can put big things in the back, but not quite yet. So I'm going to start by unboxing this guy. I know that he left the backing plates on from a shipping standpoint, but I asked him to basically strip everything off, everything else, brake related, etc., just to lower the weight. This package is about 240 pounds right now. It costs more to ship this than the axle itself. So I tried to reduce there, but I'm going to take it out, see what state it's in, and come up with a plan on how to get it in here. So let's do it.
Don't stop. Watch out now.
Things are looking pretty good on this axle, so for the most part. It does look exactly like the one that came out of there, which is really no surprise. I'd be worried if it didn't. End play wise, I didn't measure, but I felt on both sides there's no end play there, which is good. There should be per spec like 0. Some people put a couple thou in there. So that should be shimmed good, shouldn't have to do anything there. If I spin the hubs on one side, they do spin the opposite way on the other. I'm not gonna be able to get all that in view. And it is spinning the yoke up front there, which should happen if there's no load. If there's load because it's differential, it shouldn't spin. So when I had 2 hands, I checked all that stuff and everything looks good. I also did actually look inside the fill hole there. I already put the bung back in. And the thrust block, which is what was destroyed on the other one, is there and intact, which is a good sign, and it looks like it's functional. He did ship it dry, which he told me he was going to do to reduce weight again. So of course I'll just fill that up. I might even do a flush when I get to it. The only thing that I'm noticing that I might do here is these hubs. I'm actually not sure how he took the drums off without taking the hubs off. As you saw in the last episode, it's like not possible. But there's also some like damage marks here. And if you look closely, like for example there, I don't know if that's zooming in or not, there is some damage on the splines of those studs. And I got all new studs to replace the old ones, and they're all right-hand studs, typical studs. So I probably, once I get this thing up there, will pull those hubs off and then put my new hubs on with the new studs. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. First thing is figure out how the hell to get the old axle out and to get this new one in here, because it's not light, and I'm probably going to need some help doing it. All right, so here's the current plan. I've got supports under essentially the rear bumpers, but they mount directly to the frame. I also have 2 supports, one up there, one on the other side, which are actually mounted to the running board brackets, which are bolted to the frame. And then I've got the axle supported by these jack stands, as well as the ratchet straps, which are strapped up to a cross member on the bed. So I just worked through this with my buddy Joe, and the 4 concrete pillars, if you will, they're all pretty much aligned vertically. So as soon as the axle is totally unloaded, it's pretty well supported by those 4 pillars. I'm going to unbolt everything remaining. So the U-bolts, I did get 1 damper out of there. I'm going to get the other damper out so that the axle itself is free. Once I do that, I will jack the hydraulic jack up a little bit so I can remove the jack stands and then lower it. At that point, it'll just be hanging, and then it's going to be a matter of safely lowering it down to the lift. And then we should be able to lower the lift, get this axle out here, and then basically do the reverse, is get the axle back in. Now there is a weight difference. The axle that I'm taking out right now is probably, I don't know, 100-ish pounds. The axle with the differential is more like 200 pounds. So getting out may be a little bit easier, but I think we got a plan in both ways. I'm at the point where U-bolts are off, shocks are off. I actually have the jack stands removed. So right now the axle is being held up by this hydraulic jack. The plan is to loosen this. The plan is also that this axle is going to swing back a little bit because I have it hung a little bit farther back on the cross member. But first it's got to actually pull down from the leaf springs a little bit before it does that. So I'm hoping I loosen this thing, it just swings, and then I'll be able to lower it down little by little. So let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I can hear it coming down, resting on the cinder block pillars. And I'm pretty loose, so they're not... Alright, so I do have to loosen the ratchet straps a little bit. Oh, there's one. And it landed on wood, which is good. We'll do the other one here. We got the other one down. Now, why is that not fully unloaded? Oh, because I got the jack there. Damn it. Okay, so now I should be able to loosen this all the way. Okay.
Cal wants to put out some bird seed on the front porch because there's baby birds.
We don't have bird seed.
Oh.
Now I'm at a place where it's pretty stable on some wood on either side, and so I can lower this whole thing down, get the old axle out. Got it out. Oh, it stinks. All right. Probably not a good idea. So that went pretty smooth. Oh. Now I gotta try to finagle the new one in there. I didn't film the process of getting the axle up just because I was kind of on a roll, and that happens sometimes. Basically, I kind of fished the axle up on one side here and then on the other side, and then kind of rolled it in place there, and then lifted back up, and luckily kind of got one side almost perfectly in place. That's why I just kept going. But now I have one side is loosely hooked up. The other side is resting on the lift there. So I'm going to try to get that like pivoted on this side here, get that up in place so I can do the same thing and loosely get the U-bolts in there, and then just keep going and hopefully tighten it to where it should be, and then move on to the next step. All right, oh, I got a good view of my hanging muffler there. So I got everything actually loosely assembled there. It's still resting on the blocks. So now I'm gonna start tightening stuff up a little bit, and I'm gonna do it relatively slowly just to make sure everything kind of works itself into alignment, left, right, straight, up, down, all that kind of stuff. So I probably won't film this part just because it'll be boring. But basically what I'm gonna do is get everything up and then do the final torque and move on to the next step. Now that the new used axle is in place, I'm going to turn my attention to the drive shaft here, which I took out to take the axle out originally. There are two areas that I'm going to focus on renewing. One are the U-joints on either end, and that's pretty straightforward. I got new U-joints here, Spicer U-joints. So I got to knock the old ones out and put the new ones in. And then the other area is in the front here. And there, it's actually two pieces on splined so that these move axially relative to each other, and that's what allows for the suspension to move up and down. So you can see here the two pieces, one here that has the yoke for the U-joint, the other one which is part of the actual drive shaft or propeller shaft. There's a couple components in there that will allow me to kind of pull it apart, take a look at stuff inside, and then there is a grease fitting So I'm gonna pack that full of grease once I have it apart and kind of cleaned out. All right, this thing is supposed to unscrew and I can't get it. I've heated it. I've done PB Blaster. I've got one side actually kind of chucked up in my vise here, and I've got a big plumber's wrench to try to get this apart. So hopefully I can get this apart and clean it out a little bit. Yeah! Whew. Okay. Maybe it is that short. I thought there would definitely be a need for a longer spline section, but it looks pretty nasty in there. I'm going to just kind of clean this out a little bit and then re-grease it when I put it in, and then also grease it through the nipple that's there. So hopefully get some good action down the road. It doesn't dry up or anything. Really want to just get all this old gross gunk out of there. It's kind of like peanut butter. You know what? I'm going to actually take the U-joint off of this piece first so that I can really kind of clean this whole thing before I actually put it back in there. Let me do that. So what I need to do is I need to find, there's some retaining clip method in there, and I need to dig out some of the grease. Pop those clips out so I can actually take the U-joint out. Okay, there's one of them. How do I get that out? Alright, so there's one clip that's starting to come out. So I should be able to spring that out of there. There we go. It's coming. There it goes. All right, now we gotta get the other side out. Oop. There it's starting. See that? Push a little bit more. Can. There we go. Alright, so now we still have to push this one way or the other. We gotta push it through. There we go. Alright, so now this thing is ready to be cleaned, and I'm going to really try to get as much gunk out of there as possible before I put the new U-joint in there. We got Mabel out here for a cameo. She's going to help clean this disgusting splined yoke.
That's pretty clean.
Why? Alright, I just got the kids on the bus, and I'm taking a pit stop on the way to work. I am doing something that I've done with my Scout and what I'm doing with Wolley too, which is upgrade hardware wherever I can, nuts and bolts. I am fortunate that I have a tractor supply company 2 miles away from me, and it's on the way to work. So any chance I get to upgrade nuts, bolts, fasteners, anything that's in a drive line or motor mounts, tranny mounts, whatever, why not spend the little money to make sure that I get the grade 5 or the grade 8 hardware. So here we are, pulling up to Tractor Supply Company. So I'll just take a minute and grab some nuts and bolts. putting the U-joints back in is pretty much the opposite as taking them apart. Although I'm going to be a little more gentle. I'm not going to use a big hammer. I'm going to use my vise to squeeze stuff back together. On this vehicle, the L112, L110, there are two different U-joints, front and back. I got both Spicer brands. They're kind of like the old style. I've never actually used these before. Front side is not threaded holes here because it attaches into the transmission. So these the holes are not threaded. This is a Spicer 5-2033X. On the back side, it is actually threaded, and you'll see that when I assemble it, and that's a 5-2031X. When I put these back together, I'm actually going to have to take off these caps to slide them through the joint or the yoke. So I do want to make sure that everything is super clean, and these holes are clean. And actually, there's a couple burrs on them that I'm going to take a little bit of time and just make sure file them down so there's no rough edges. But once I get that together, you'll see I clamp it, clip it. Again, same thing as the way I took it apart, but opposite. Get it back on the drive shaft, and then throw it back in the truck. Let's do it. Last night ended up being actually a really long night. My wife was out here helping me a little bit, but I didn't really film very much for kind of three reasons. One, it was hard to film. It was dark in here. I don't have great lights in the garage yet. Two, a lot of the things ended up being things that you've seen me do before, like put in the brakes, stuff like that. So I didn't want to bore you there. And number three, I was on a roll and I didn't really want to film anything. It takes a little bit more time to do that. So all that being said, Wolley is back on all fours. I'll recap real quick what I was able to get done. So the rear axle obviously is the replacement one. I just topped that off with gear oil. New shocks, I was planning on doing that anyway, so perfect timing. New U-bolts, which I've talked about. So the whole rear end is ready to go. I did get the brakes reinstalled. I did use the backing plates and the hubs from Wolley. So this back end is ready to go other than brake lines. Moving up, we've got the new U-joints on either side of the drivetrain, which are now lubricated and ready to go. I also, since I had the grease gun out, every Zerk fitting on the front suspension, I ended up lubricating, putting some grease in there. New front shocks as well. And obviously the brake hardware is all new on both sides. So with all this work complete, we're ready for brakes. We're ready to do the hard lines. I've got all of the soft lines, the rubber lines ready. I've got the new master cylinder. I think I have all the components to do it, so that'll be next episode. I do have to flare some of the hard lines, which I know can be tricky, but should be straightforward. Get the brakes bled, and then I can get this thing outside and actually show it to you guys in the sun, do like a full 360 around it, because I haven't done that yet. And actually wash it, give it a nice scrub down because it hasn't had that yet. So hopefully the axle works as advertised once I get it running and out of the garage. So fingers crossed there. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.